Yeah.
All right. So hi everyone. My name is Teresa Roach, and I'd like to thank you all very much for taking the time to tune in to this quad safety training information evening this evening. It's a great honor to have you all present, and especially to all our speakers, and which you're all going to be introduced and to meet in the next few minutes. So I am the Farm Family Aoife Farm Family and Social Affairs Chairwoman, it's a great pleasure to host this event this evening, as I mentioned. You're all aware that the quad safety training legislation came into effect on November the 20th, 2023. That requires all ATV quad operators to complete a quad safety training course, and it's mandatory for use of helmets. Farm safety is crucial for protecting the lives and health of farmers, workers and their families. It's so important that everyone adheres to farm safety practices to help minimize the risk of accidents on farms. Without further ado, we are delighted to have speakers here tonight to inform us of the new quad safety training course. I'd like to introduce our panel here who are going to be discussing individually with further information. We have Martina Gormley from the HSA. You're very welcome here tonight. And we have Paula Smyth from Lantra registration body. We have Andrew Reilly from the Cohort training. And we have Rosemary McTighe and Aoife Kinsella from FRS. So thank you very much for taking the time to be with us tonight. And it's a great pleasure and an honor to have you here. So with each presenter, we'll present for 10 minutes. And with time at the end of each presenter for questions and answers. And we hope to have this all wrapped up within the hour. As we know, it's a lovely evening out there. So we will make it as informative as possible. And we really want you to get involved and to be able to participate with questions and answers. So this is an information evening, and it's to equip you with the skills and the knowledge about the legislation surrounding quad bike training. And it's for you and your families, as a busy time of year on our family farms. And we look forward to getting more information. Thank you very much. And I will now hand you over to Martina Gormley from the HSA. Thank you.
Thanks very much. Appreciate that. So look, first of all, if I could just say that the Health and Safety Authority really appreciate the opportunity to inform and push out the message in relation to quads and the new requirements. So we do appreciate the IFA for organising and bringing everyone together tonight. And look, our aim here is we're trying to reduce the numbers of farm deaths and serious injury with quad bikes. So what we hear today and what we take away, the message we take away, is really crucial into how we work on our farms. I suppose just at the outset, I just want to say, you know, like it's on our website, on the HSA website, you know, training is delivered by a number of training providers across the country, you know, and they must be registered with a registration body like, you know, QQI, Lantra, City and Guilds, ABA or others. So these registration bodies are responsible for confirming that, you know, an ATV or a quad bike training program meets the minimum standards that are set out, you know, in the QQI ATV standard. It's known as 5N1752, a certificate specification that's set by QQI. So just the HSA have no role in relation to the approval or the recognition of training providers or registration bodies. So you'll hear plenty from the training providers tonight, which is great that they're here and passing out their messages. So without further ado, can everyone see the first slide there okay?
Yeah.
Great. So
I'm not sure if you want to put it into slideshow format, Martina, or...
Grant, can do. Is that better?
Yeah. Perfect, yeah.
Thanks. So look, the regulations that came into force last November, and they were, as with all laws, they were given about 1.5 to 2 years of time for people to prepare to get the training or to get ramped up before we could actually enforce them. So really from last November then they became enforceable. So look, the image you see there, that's down at the Ploughing Championships last year. And although we are a regulator, we also try to inform and give advice. And so at our ploughing demonstration last year on our stand, we were all things quad related, quad training. So the message was very clear. Look, there's new legislation coming in a month or two's time. This is what it's saying. This is how to go about, you know, driving once you're trained safely, and the helmets and everything. And we will again this year down at our ploughing stand have another quad demonstration along with the tractor PTO shaft demonstration too. So just to be aware that we will be back there again this year, should anyone feel like coming over and having a look at the display and how it's worked. In terms of the statistics, look, I'm inspecting for over 20 years with the HSA, and part of that requires me to investigate farm deaths. So I have been out there when the guards are there, when something goes wrong, and I am having to talk to the family and prepare information in relation to what happened, what went wrong, and how can that be prevented. So I see firsthand the impact of serious injuries and fatalities on our farms. So you can see there, if we just take a snapshot at the last 10 years on Irish farms, there have been in total 191 people suffered loss. Lives were lost, 191 in the last 10 years. And the top area where those people lost their lives was in relation to vehicles on farms. So just take that away with you. It's vehicles. This is why this legislation has been brought in, because this is where most farm deaths are occurring. It's with farm vehicles. And if we look over the last couple of years, you can see quite clearly, you know, there was 32 fatalities back in 2014 on Irish farms. You know, it did go down to 18, but my God, that's a huge number. And you can see the curve there. 2017, there was 25. It went down in 2018, and it went down back in 2021 to 10. And last year saw it go to 16. This is far too many farm deaths. There shouldn't be one. And this is why we're trying everything we can in relation to how we inspect, how we advise, the information, the stakeholders, everything we do, we are targeting to try and get that number to 0. So that's just a wee pie chart that again shows the main areas where these farm deaths are occurring. It's vehicles, the top 3, it's livestock, you know, it's falls, work at height. They're the 3 top areas where farm deaths are occurring. So they're the areas that we tend to target in a focused way, and also the other areas as well, but our focus is always on where are most of these serious injuries occurring. And if we break that down, you can see tractors, telehandlers, quads, they're all there. So look, we can look at other countries as well. If we step outside of Ireland, and we can see, look, in Sweden, there were 74 deaths in that time period there. You know, with quad bikes, there was 56% trapped under a vehicle. You know, there's our information leaflet there, quad bike. We did a safety update in relation to them. In Australia, you know, in that time period there was 127 people killed. And in the United States, in a 2-year period, there were 2,321. So we now know categorically from looking at the data, because you have to find the data in order to be able to decipher what's happening, why is this happening, where is it going wrong for people. So in those 10 years up to 2022, there was 85 farm vehicle deaths in Ireland, and 10 of them were with quad bikes. And unfortunately, almost 75% of the fatal quad accidents were to people aged 60 and over. And one of the things, because as inspectors, we are trained, because if we're investigating an accident or a fatality, we need to know what way things should have happened, or like if there was somebody suffered an amputation on a machine, we need to know how that machine works and where the guards and what type of training is on that machine. If the guard was missing, if that led to the injury. So we're also trained in quad driving, and to drive a quad, you have to be relatively fit and mobile to do it, because you have to move your body. The physical weight around the vehicle in order to drive safely on them. So really, even at home here, there's an 84-year-old. You know, him trying to swing his leg over a quad is a lot easier than trying to get up the steps in a tractor. But in terms of his mobility and his torso being able to move, that level of mobility is gone. So he no longer is on a quad. This is an actual fatality that did occur. So these photos are real. So in this particular fatality, sadly, it was a farmer in his 70s, and he was herding cattle within a field in poor light conditions when he crashed into an ESB pole. He wasn't wearing a helmet, and he died of head injuries. We've had, over the years, many demonstrations, be it at the Ploughing or the Tullamore show. We have them in lots of locations, to get the message across. When something goes wrong and the emergency services are called, it's almost too late at that stage. So anything we can do to try our best to prevent these, to take the training, to wear a helmet, it's really monkey see, monkey do. Like we have the 3 generations at home here, the 84-year-old, someone in the 50s, and then the teenagers coming along as well, chomping at the bit. It really is. What they see is what they do. So if people are trained and if we're wearing our helmets, then our kids are doing the same. And sometimes photographs, can have more impact than lots of text. So, and seeing it in reality, the Tullamore show will be there again as well this year. And that last image is the Tullamore show. You can see what has to be done, how to do it, the safest way forward. Another demonstration that we included at the Ploughing show was also in relation to sprayers. And if you have liquid and it can move around and the stability of the vehicle is affected by that. So look, in relation to the quad bike regulations, there was an initial draft prepared, and we have the Farm Safety Partnership Advisory Committee, and Teresa is a member of that. And we discussed it at length, and we agreed that to try and improve the situation, that training and wearing helmets could have a huge impact and save lives. And then a draft was agreed, and it was sent on to the Minister and the board, and it went out to public consultation for the public then to have their say. And that was reviewed. And then the Minister then decided to sign the regulations into being. So they came in last November, as Teresa said, and really what they say is training and helmet. That's what we need. But let's just remember, this legislation in relation to quads is not just for the ag sector, which is what we're here about tonight. This is for all workplaces. So like if somebody is up a forest, if someone is on a construction site, no matter where or what, if someone is in a warehouse situation outside, it doesn't matter where. Anyone driving a quad in Ireland in any workplace must have training and be wearing a helmet. We do an awful lot of promotion, because we were trying to get the message across. This is how we want to try and reduce accidents. This is how a demonstration is going to show you how to drive safely. Like in the photo on the right there, you have Noel, and he did our demos at the Ploughing last year. And then you have teenagers above 16 years of age driving the quad. But you can see clearly how fit a person needs to be in order to be able to move around and drive safely. And I think probably one of the outcomes in relation to the regulations I've noticed is a lot of people are trying, then if they're feeling their fitness has gone down, maybe they're in their 80s or slightly younger, they're thinking then about getting rid of the quad and going maybe for a side-by-side, which has a roof, a UTV, and it has a safety belt. And then the issue then of having to be able to stand up and move your body weight from side to side is not necessary. And then this is the text. So this is just the regulation in relation to, the quads, the ATVs. And all it says is, look, you must have completed an all-terrain vehicle safety training course with a registered training provider to a QQI standard or equivalent. You know, it requires a risk assessment to be carried out. You know, what are the risks? How high are they? What do we do in order to control the risks? And then personal protective equipment, or PPE as we say, is provided and worn, you know, and that there would obviously be your helmet. So what it says in relation to the regulation is where work involves the operation of an ATV, a protective helmet is required to be worn. And look, there's loads of information in relation to it on our website at www.hsa.ie. Only training to the current QQI standard, which is 5N1752, or the equivalent, is acceptable. And look, the HSA advises all training providers to register with QQI or Lantra or City and Guilds or other registration bodies and have their quad bike training programs confirmed. Persons who undertake any ATV quad bike training really should ensure that the training that the provider is given is a registered, you know, that person is a registered training provider, and that, you know, I get then, as the person attending, on successful completion of the training course, I receive a certificate of training that confirms that the course was successfully completed to the standard. And then I just keep that on the form and show it if requested. It's just your proof that you passed the training. And look, there's lots of examples, you know, in relation to what tasks, you know, are to be completed by the person getting the training. In the QQI standard, for example, it says, look, carry out a safety assessment. You know, what are the risks? What are the controls, you know, with your vehicle and using it? You would then be able to carry out a routine pre-start check. You know, you'd identify the functions and the setting out controls, and really, you know, these are basic things. So it's good to have, you know, just to know what's involved in the training, you know, for that QQI standard, that you'd carry out a correct starting procedure. And like fundamentally, we found investigating some serious incidents, you know, having assessed the terrain that you're going to be driving on before you go on it. You know, a shower of rain can have huge impact. I remember investigating a fatality where there was fresh topsoil put on the hill the day before. And unfortunately, when they were driving down it the next day, the fresh topsoil gave way and the vehicle became unstable and overturned. You know, that the other elements to this would be that you ride at a safe and suitable speed, and also that the manoeuvres through a vehicle with variable terrain and ground conditions, you know, that basically you're taking account of all possible risks and you're mitigating as best you can. So look, the duration of the courses will generally be 1 day for experienced riders, 2 days for new entrants, with a period of practice in between. And the ratio of trainer to trainee should be no more than 1 to 4 persons. And the person undertaking the quad bike training should be over 16. Almost finished because I know I'm running out of time here. So no helmet was used in half of quad bike accidents. That's what we know from research that was carried out. And that the most severely injured part of the body was the head. And in terms of enforcement, look, if we find a farmer has no training, we can write an improvement notice, which will say, look, by this time, can you get yourself into a training course? And we'll agree that with the farmer, and that's an improvement notice. If there's no helmet and someone is driving a quad, we'll issue a prohibition notice because we want people to go home safe at the end of the day. And obviously the helmet then will be dependent on what type of surface you're driving on and speed and stuff. And then the helmets must be designed for a quad bike or meet the ECE 2205 or 2206 standard with the visor and a chin strap. And that's it. That's the end of my presentation.
Thank you, Martina. That was fantastic. Great insight into farm fatalities and farm accidents and where the statistics are showing. Which I found quite interesting out of it was, you know, to say that, you know, to compare, I suppose, most farm deaths are from vehicles on farms, you know, and that was, you know, very interesting fact from there, that it was from the vehicles, and then to understand, you know, livestock was next, and then falls and working at heights, as you mentioned. And, you know, the importance of wearing a helmet, as you mentioned, is, you know, for 50% of them fatalities, they hadn't got a helmet. So I think if we can take anything from it, it is that information. So thank you. Will we, Martina, go to some questions and answers if you're happy to take some questions on board? If any would like to ask us a question, we would be very open to taking them right now, please.
And happy to wait to the end if you want to just go through the rest, whichever suits people, it's fine.
Anybody wants to raise their hand?
There's two questions in the question box. I can read it out.
Yes.
Can funding for ATV training be introduced? Courses are very expensive at the moment throughout the country.
Well, the HSA are not a funding body, so you know, but absolutely anything or anywhere that if people can get, you know, funding towards it is very, very welcome for sure. But the HSA wouldn't be that wouldn't be part of our remit, unfortunately.
I know FBD were funding some of the purchasing groups. FBD, they were funding some purchasing groups around, so that might be an option.
Absolutely, yeah.
Just on that, I believe that because the training is now mandatory or statutory, that the likes of SkillNet funding is not applicable to it. So as it stands, that avenue is closed off since November of last year.
Thank you, Andrew. That's good to know that. Yeah. Okay.
We have another question again. Say, how can we get purchasing groups in place in West Cork?
Anybody would like to take that question?
I'm not so sure on the answer there, Ger. We look into it and we can always follow up with you.
Okay. We'll come back to that, will we, Claire?
Yeah, can do.
That question. Okay. Fantastic. Okay, so if we can take on some further questions at the next after the next session as well, and we'll happily pass through each of them. So next speaker of our tonight is Paula Smyth from Lantra registration body, and we would like to welcome you and thank you for taking the time to be with us tonight, Paula. So if you'd like to take the floor, you're very welcome.
Thank you very much, Teresa. Thank you very much for the invitation to join with you tonight to have a bit of a share about what Lantra are actually doing with regards to ATV training. Hopefully you can see my presentation okay. Okay, so just to start, so going to try to move on to the next slide. Okay, so who are Lantra? So obviously Martina has indicated that training must be undertaken by QQI or an equivalent, QQI or an equivalent awarding body. So I'm going to give you just a bit of an overview who Lantra actually are. So Lantra are a nationally recognised awarding body. We have over 50 years experience developing training courses and qualifications, which have been designed for the land-based sector. At the moment, we offer over 350 different training courses and qualifications. ATV is part of that suite that we currently offer. All our training is delivered and assessed through a network of approved providers and instructors. Includes, we do training, we do qualifications, we do bespoke training, and we also offer some courses on e-learning. Just to reiterate, we are based across the UK and Ireland in terms of all our training providers and instructors. And the way that we work is we work closely with government organisations, with businesses and with industry to ensure that the training we offer meets the needs of the workforce. So prior to the to the ATV legislation being implemented, Lantra had engaged with a number of your government organisations to ensure that the training we had met the needs and the standards that were going to be applicable in Ireland as well. So I'm not going to dwell on this because obviously Martina has already covered quite a bit about legislation. It came into effect in November 23. You must undertake accredited training, so it's QQI standard or equivalent, Lantra are an equivalent standard. And obviously I mentioned then about the helmet, which Martina has already covered. I wanted to reiterate the responsibilities under the 2005 Act still apply, in that an employer must provide instruction training to ensure the health and safety of their employees. The employer must provide adequate training to ensure that ATVs are only ridden by employees, including himself, who have received the training, and the same requirement applies whether it's the farmer or a self-employed person as well. So just to pick up on that note. Moving on, as I say, some of this is going to be duplication, folks, on what you've already heard tonight. Underlying causes of fatalities and injuries. It's lack of training, it's no head protection, speed, age is a huge thing. Carrying a passenger on a quad, which isn't allowed, but a lot of people think that the big seat's for a second person. Your unbalanced loads, the tipping off an ATV over a bank or going over a bump. Loss of control on your steep slopes, towing something that you shouldn't be, and poor maintenance of your vehicle as well. So I'm just going to touch very quickly what I have asked, what's coming out after me. Andrew Reilly from Cohort Training will be coming on to give you a bit of more of a talk through what the Lantra training actually looks like. But from my point of view, just to say that Lantra do offer the ATV training to the prescribed standard, which is Lantra QQI or an alternative. On successful completion of the training course, a certificate and a skills card will be issued to successful applicants. The requirement is that the farmer or whoever is using the ATV for work purposes do provide proof of the certificate when required to do so. And again, just to reiterate that ATV training is only for those aged 16 plus. In terms then just of provision of ATV training across the island of Ireland, so we do have quite a few training providers geographically spread across the island. County Longford, for some reason, is the only reason we don't currently have a provider in, but we have them in all the other regions, which is great in the sense of travel, that folk having to go too far. There should be somebody quite close to you in terms of provision. And you can access that information either online via the Lantra website or by contacting us directly in the office, and we'll be able to give you details of those closer. At this juncture, I'm conscious of time, so I am passing over now to my colleague, Andrew Reilly from Cohort Training. And Andrew will take the floor from here in terms of describing what Lantra training actually looks like for yourselves. Thank you very much for your time, just to share that with you.
Thank you, Paula, very much for your information. That was very informative. And we welcome Andrew Reilly from Cohort Training just to give us a further update. Thanks very much, Andrew, for taking the floor.
Great, thanks. Just bear with me now and I'll get my, try to get the share my screen here. Okay, can you see that?
Yes, we can, thank you.
Yeah. Okay, great. So I have a full screen, so I can't see anybody. First off, Andrew Reilly is my name, and I've been doing health and safety training now for about 14 years. And over the last year and a bit, I have become a Lantra approved instructor and have delivered quad bike training or ATV training to several hundred attendees at this stage. And interestingly, it was mentioned there of the young people at the ploughing. So I've had from 16 years of age to well in excess of 80 and everything in between. So it is, I suppose it's from that boots on the ground, person in the field that I'll give my perspective here this evening. Okay. So what I want to just mention again briefly is what we cover in the course. For those who haven't got their training completed yet, how to find courses and how to register on them, what attendees need when they're taking part, and again, what to expect on the course. And again, I'll welcome any questions then later on. So first off, when we mention all-terrain vehicles, there are several different types, and what we're specifically talking about here tonight are sit-astride or quad bikes as they're known. There are others, so sit-ins or skid steers or track machines, but generally it is sit-astride talking tonight. The Lantra course is a one-day course for experienced operators or 2 days for novice with little or no experience. It is modular, so there are compulsory elements or compulsory modules in it, and then there are some optional ones as well. So when you're booking your course, it is really important that you explain what you use the course, your quad bike for, the nature of the work, the nature of the workplace, so that it can be delivered and tailored for those attending. All Lantra courses are run through approved Lantra training centres, and all instructors are technically verified, so they're independently assessed on their knowledge, their skills and their instructional ability. Courses are subject to desktop audit for quality and by visits by technical verifiers as well, should it be deemed necessary. During the course, there's both written and practical assessments, and there's a split, I suppose, roughly of 70% practical, maybe 30% theoretical or written. So it is predominantly a practical course. For those who need to book a course, you can go online, you can contact approved providers, so whether they be Lantra, City and Guilds, QQI or any others, they are available online. As I mentioned, discuss your requirements with them. You can attend a public course, so you can come to a training centre on your own and take part, or you can be part, organise a group and have an instructor come to you if you have suitable training venue. What is absolutely necessary for it is that there's access to fully serviceable ATVs, also loads that can be trailed, mounted on the equipment, and also attachments as well. It needs to be a suitable place to sit down indoors to do theory and paperwork. That's usually first thing in the morning, and then last thing in the evening then to run through assessments. Age and physical suitability. Again, there's something probably I might just flag that it might come up in the question and answers later on. So from my own experience on farms, from a farm safety point of view, I know there are a huge number of young people under 16 years of age who drive quad bikes on farms. And also, so they're a very particularly vulnerable group that are at risk. And there's also a lot of people of all ages, particularly older, who have mobility issues. And there has to be a severe question mark over their suitability to be operating quad bikes. So if you can't move your body, if you can't have a full range of movement, then it becomes very difficult to control that quad bike, particularly in rough terrain scenarios. For training, a key component of it is that the training area is suitable for the practical. In particular, if there is a rough terrain component included in it, that you have suitable hills, slopes, side slopes, and rough terrain that can be operated and can train the people properly and then assess them properly. If you're coming to do your quad course, again, I'm sure the other training organisations will concur with the importance of all of this stuff. Firstly, allocate the full day for the course. Don't think you're going to be home early with time to do other jobs, okay? You have to commit to it. It is a full day course. Turn off your phone. While men are wonderful at multitasking, we do have limits. You can only concentrate on one thing at a time. So that's an important one. Arrive on time, be prepared. If you're using your own quad, have it ready, have it washed down, have your operator's manual, be tuned into the requirements of it. Bring the right gear. You will be out regardless of the weather. So last winter was extremely busy on a quad training front, and we had some horrendous weather, and anyone who came with leaky boots or not great raincoats, it was pretty miserable. So get suited and booted and be ready to go. Also on the day, inform your trainer if you have any special requirements. So that could be anything from a medical thing to a dietary thing to ability to read and write. I had one participant recently who suffers anaphylactic shock if he gets a sting from a bee. So again, it's very important to know that if you're going on a course, particularly in the outdoors where you can have issues like that. I would say to anyone listening in here tonight or looking in here tonight, don't be put off from going on any training course, particularly this quad course that we're talking about, if you don't feel you're overly strong at reading and writing. Your instructor will help you. They'll help you with the forms, they'll help you with the theory test, the questions can be read out, and you just select the correct answer as part of that. So don't be afraid of doing that. We come across it every week. You're not the first, and you most certainly won't be the last. The contents of the course is, I'll just do the sessions really. So there's legislation, health and safety legislation, introduction to what the bikes are, then some technical elements around transmissions, traction, tires. We go in quite a bit of detail into the causes of accidents, and that list gets added to nearly every time we do a new course. Pre-use checks, vehicle inspection, startup procedures, riding techniques, riding on diverse terrain. One of the key aspects of it is the failed hill climb procedure and what to do if you don't make it to the top of a hill for any particular reason, how to navigate off safely. And then operating with loads, trail equipment, auxiliary equipment, and then loading for transport. At the end of it then, there are the assessments. So there is the written assessment, as I mentioned, and also the instructor will complete a practical assessment that will be signed off by both parties, whether that be a successful or an unsuccessful outcome to the course. Okay, I'm going to just skip past a little bit of that, just been conscious of the times. It's a bit repetitive there, so just bear with me. Okay, so just I have a few photos just from courses that, and it'll just be a prompt for mention. So in the pre-use check, I don't know if you can see that photograph there, but that was where we measured the tire pressure on a Honda quad bike. So it was at 36.9 psi. So it was approximately 10 times the recommended inflation level for the bike. So again, these are things that people should know but don't, and they get highlighted during the course. We instruct and demonstrate and get them to practice operating on level ground and then on various types of rough terrain. So steep ascents, steep descents, side slopes, and again, operating with correct technique, using the correct equipment, the correct PPE. Again, more examples of rough terrain. Steep ascents there, so you'll note the body position moving the weight forward on the bike as they approach the uphill. So if you go on an accredited course with any of the providers, you will be put through your paces. You'll be shown and you get to practice, and you will be assessed on the key skills of operating that quad bike on varying terrain. A little bit about helmets. I know both Martina and Paula mentioned these, so I'll just do a little bit about from my own perspective. Again, when accidents, particularly fatal or non-fatal accidents, get analysed, head trauma is one of the main serious parts of the body that's seriously injured. So to help protect that, a helmet is essential. In keeping with what the thrust of the regulations, the best protection you can get is from what we would, I suppose, colloquially know as a motorcycle grade helmet. And they will have on a stamp on the back that will have ECER 22.05, or the more modern ones, the newer ones, ECER 22.06. and they must be fitted with a visor, which carries the type approval mark, or be compatible with safety goggles. The second type, the alternative, is where your risk assessment allows is a specialist ATV helmet. For example, one of the well-known ones would be the Logic ATV helmet, but they are specifically not suitable for terrain that's at high speed or very hard surfaces. So in particular, they're not legal as such for road use. So there's the photographs of both helmets that I personally use. So on the left is the ARC ATV helmet, which is approved to ECR 2205, and on the right hand side is the Logic ATV helmet, which would have a much lower approval rating. But what I find in practice on farms is that farmers are much more likely to wear the light Logic helmet, which gives them a high degree of protection, and is definitely gives more protection than not wearing any helmet at all. One of my colleagues, and I think he's listening here tonight, Paul McCaughey, sent me this picture. So Paul, thank you, and I hope you don't mind me using it. This was a helmet that was presented at one of Paul's ATV courses, and it is typical. I've seen similar. I most certainly wouldn't put my head into that, and I most certainly wouldn't trust that helmet to give me any level of protection should I need it in the case of an accident. And the second one is also from Paul, again, a quad helmet that was obviously severely broken and damaged. So wearing a helmet is one thing, wearing the right helmet is another, and wearing one that's in good condition is extremely important for the protection of your own head. Other elements when you're operating a quad bike is to make sure you have the right PPE, the helmet, other protective clothing, avoid anything loose that may become entangled either in the bike itself or on get tangled on or caught on something as you drive past. Gloves are recommended, protect the hands. High vis may be required at times. Again, it's back to what your risk assessment dictates. So if you're using a quad bike to work with extremely flighty cattle, the high vis may not be suitable. Whereas if you're moving quiet dairy cattle across the road in the hours of darkness, it most certainly will be an important thing. Excuse the typo there, but eye protection is crucial. So at any kind of speed, even an insect, a stone, anything like that flying, or a thorny branch hitting you in the eyes could do permanent damage to one or both of your eyes. So protect your eyes. Good strong footwear. So Wellingtons, safety boots, so not the runners, not the flip-flops, none of that stuff. And if you don't have any of these things when you're operating the quad bike, why not? Go and get it sorted, get it today, go online there and get it ordered, or do it tomorrow. Okay. All right.
Thank you, Andrew. That was fantastic. Very much appreciated. And there was great information in there for anyone who was interested in getting professional quad bike training services. And there was some for myself. I learned there about the ARC helmet and the Logic, which I do have one here at home. But the importance of it, for full protection and visibility as well, and comfort, which is, paramount too. But it's important to know that you're getting full support and, to prevent some injuries, I hope, with the use of them as well. And it's important to wear a helmet. We're just going to hand over to our next speakers. So thank you, Andrew, for that input, and also to Paula. And our next speaker of the night is Rosemary McTighe and Aoife Kinsella from FRS training. So thank you both for being here tonight. It's very much appreciated. And when you're ready, you can take the floor. Thank you, Rosemary.
Yeah, thank you. And thanks, Andrew. That was very informative. I'm just going to briefly talk just about FRS and introduce it. And then my colleague Aoife is just going to give you a quad training update. My name is Rosemary. I've been working with FRS as a regional sales manager for 8 years, and I'm based in the Boyle office in Roscommon. My colleague Aoife Kinsella, she is based in the head office in Roscrea in Tipperary, and she's been working with FRS for over 13 years. So for anyone that doesn't know, FRS stands for Farm Relief Services. We've been in operation since 1980, and we have been a QQI training centre since 2008. So we offer a range of courses, including agriculture, horticulture and construction. And we have kind of diversified into 5 different, so we have farm services, fencing, training, recruitment and herd watch. So in the agriculture sector, we offer TAMS, the boom and handheld pesticide. FRS are validated in QQI, FEC, Solus, City and Guilds and Lantra. So just in regards to the quad training, we are accredited in QQI and Lantra. For anyone that doesn't know what QQI stands for, it stands for Quality Qualifications Ireland. So for anyone that would have done the handheld or the boom pesticide course previously with FRS, they would have received their QQI level 5 cert. So as I said, we are accredited to run both. So I'll pass you over to my colleague Aoife. She'll take you through the quad training update.
Thank you, Rosemary, and welcome to the floor, Aoife Kinsella. Thank you for taking the time to be with us also tonight.
You're on mute.
Just your speaker, please.
Thank you. Thanks, Martina. Without repeating too much, I know, Martina, you've covered all the HSA side, and Paula and Andrew as well. You've went into great detail what is actually covered on the course. With QQI, we actually cover the same content in delivering the training course as well. I suppose with ourselves, we've delivered about 126 courses to date in quad training. 72% of those are actually on site. So mostly with farm discussion groups or with purchasing groups. So if there's anybody listening in tonight, and if you want to run in-house training on your own farms, same as that, we can organise training on your own site. FRS training will cover the insurance of, if you're the farmer hosting the quad training, your quad will be covered under FRS training insurance, just in case if you were worried about that. Also, we will have a stand at the Tullamore show this year. If there's any of you passing by, please call in and say hello to us. You might have some queries that weren't maybe answered here tonight, or if you want to chat to us in person, we'd be delighted to answer any queries there as well. Just with the QQI, it's the same as the Lantra. It's a 2-day course for novice, and it's a 1-day course for experienced drivers. You get your QQI certificate, which is a lifelong cert as well. So once you complete the course, that's it. The course, you have your training certificate, but the likes of HSA and any accredited bodies would encourage upskilling maybe in 5 years' time, just to keep yourself up with health and safety regulations, and no harm to brush up your skills as well. So without keeping you any later now this evening, I know it's 10 to 9. You're anxious to probably finish up shortly. Thanks very much for listening in, and lovely to meet our other guest speakers as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Aoife. It's a fantastic presentation there also. So we're just going to open the floor up to some questions, and to please raise your hand, and we have our speakers here on who are readily available and willing to answer any questions you might have. So please raise your hands if there's any further questions. And I just see, while we're waiting, I just see one question in the inbox here, and it says, what is the pass rate of the course, and what are the reasons people fail the course? Would anyone like to take this question, please, from the floor?
Right, I know with ourselves, actually, I think it's 100%. People have been very honest with us at the beginning. I even had a gentleman that was going to book on a course, and he broke his leg, I think about 2 weeks ago, and thought he could go ahead and go and do a quad course with a broken leg as well. And I said, look, until you're feeling better, maybe near the end of the year or so. But they've been actually very honest with us, and we're able to tailor the course. If they're not ready for the course, they're generally honest with us, and we can't put somebody on a course that may have some certain illness or whatever, and we'll try and work with them all right. But the pass rate, definitely for us, I think it's been 100%. Majority of people are very, very good. They're using the quad on the farm all the time. They have good experience up to date.
Fantastic. Absolutely. Andrew, would you like to add anything, any further information to that question?
Yeah, so again, as instructors, we're not trying to catch people out, not trying to fail them. In the Lantra course, there is a mandatory disqualification for dangerous operation. So if somebody takes it on themselves to I suppose not follow the instruction of the instructor or anything like that, they would automatically fail. The modular aspect of the Lantra course as well means that if somebody is inexperienced at, say, rough terrain or using trailers or something like that, that can be specifically excluded from the training, and they can pass the basic course with safe operation on flat ground. So again, it's very much, as Aoife said, if they're upfront, they sign the declarations, they generally are fit to take it on. Other than that, yeah, I find it a very positive outcome so far.
Very good. Thank you, Andrew. And you also did say that you would be in support of supporting people reading and writing skills, you know, and with the exam that you will be able to do a verbal content, and to, you know, that everyone shouldn't be in fear of participating, that there will be supports put into place to give people the best outcome, and that's very much appreciated. So thank you. And we want, and it sounds like from the floor that everyone wants everyone to pass, and that, you know, that is the intention, to get people through the training. So to give people the confidence is very important. And I have another question here. Roughly how much does it cost to attend a course for a day if you're experienced? So who would like to take that question there? Paula Smyth, are you there? Would you like to take it?
I am, but as Lantra, we're the warden body, so we don't set an external price. That price is set by the training providers who work with us. So what I would say, it could vary slightly from provider to provider. So your best thing is to contact a few of your closer ones if you want to check the price. Obviously, because there's different durations, whether you're a 1 day or a 2 day course. And sometimes training takes place on the farm. Sometimes it takes place in a training provider's premises. So there can be a few factors that impact on the external price. But what I would say is contact the providers directly, and they'll be able to advise you.
Fantastic. And Rosemary, do you want to add to any of that? Are you?
Yeah, look, like the price is going to vary for each company, you know, with the QQI, you can take 8 participants, where the Lantra, I think the ratio is 4. Is that right, Andrew? I think it's 4.
Yeah, maximum 4 to 1.
Yeah, so like that, you have to factor that in as well. But as I said, each organisation is going to charge different prices. That's just down to themselves.
Yeah, I think there was a reference earlier on to purchasing groups, and I know that we've done training for quite a few, and we do work out specific deals for volume with them. So yeah, that can be either discussion groups, purchasing groups, or similar groups of farmers coming together. So I'd encourage that as well. So look, I'll answer a straight question. Our public courses, we charge €295 per person, and that's our quoted rate for that. So there'll be 4 people on the course, and that's what we charge for them to come to our training centre in Trim. So that's our side of it.
Okay, thank you very much. How many people are required for an on-farm training course?
You'd need a minimum 4.
4, yeah, exactly. So 4 people for that person. I can't see the name. Sean, it says, a question from Sean. Okay, is there any other further questions on the floor? We will, before we close out the meeting, is there any questions? Please put them on the inbox, the meeting chatting box, or you can raise your hand before we finish out.
There's a few questions just in the Q&A box as well, Teresa, that I can read out. Just one person wondering where they can find out where they can do the course in their area.
About if just with FRS training, and Andrew, you'd be probably the same. You can contact us directly and check our website, frstraining.com, and Andrew, you'd be able to give your own website there.
Yeah, we're cohort.ie, so www.cohort.ie. and just give us a ring, or you can book online. And FRS were mentioned that to be at Tullamore Show. Actually, tomorrow, if anybody is up in County Meath, we'll be doing quad bike demonstrations at the Beef 24 event in Grange, and drop by and have a word there either.
Fantastic. Okay.
Perfect. Thank you. And just another one. What does a farmer do in regards to contractors with ATVs?
Whether they have training or not, is it? Yeah. So I suppose I'll take that one if you like. That there is an onus on the farmer to check that any contractor or anyone coming in to do work on their farm is compliant with statutory requirements, including training. So they should be asking that question at the start. You don't have to specifically say, are you quad bike trained, but you can get a confirmation from your contractor that he is in full compliance. Maybe Martina might be able to add more to that one.
And also, look, the end point here is what are we trying to achieve here, all of us collectively? We're trying to achieve that everyone goes home from work in one piece. So it applies to everyone. So if I had a contractor here on the farm and they were driving a quad, I would say, before you get back on that quad, are you trained? Have you a helmet? Because it applies to everyone. And the reason we're doing that, and the reason we're having that conversation, is I don't want an accident to happen with that person. It's that simple. So I wouldn't be in any way embarrassed by asking them. I'd be like thinking, I'm doing you a favor by checking that you have it. And sorry, look, I have to make sure that anyone driving a quad on my farm is trained and is wearing the helmet, and it's for their sake. Because God forbid if something went wrong, and we obviously would have to go in and investigate. The first thing we'll check is, are they trained? Were they wearing a helmet? And if I employed a contractor on the farm here, did I check that they were trained and wearing a helmet? So it's the end point here is we just want everyone to stay safe. We are trying to reduce the serious accidents and deaths. So I think it's well worth having the conversation.
Yeah.
Thank you, Martina.
Thank you.
Thank you. Claire,
I just have another one here as well.
Yes, go ahead.
How often do you have to change a helmet? Is it compulsory to change the helmet on an annual basis, regardless of wear and tear?
Not on an annual basis. It will be depending on the manufacturer of that, what their recommendation is. But obviously, if the helmet is involved in an accident, is damaged, it must be immediately replaced, regardless of the age of it.
Perfect. Thank you, Andrew.
Absolutely.
Just another one coming in there, just in relation to the quads. What about somebody driving a quad over your land on a right of way on your land? Say neighbour who has access to their property over your land. Who is liable there?
Right of ways wouldn't be the remit of the HSA. So a public space, a public right of way. So that would be your Garda Síochána, any public road or public right of way. It's a Garda Síochána. But look, if it's for work, everyone in any workplace in the country must be trained and must be wearing a helmet. So it's incumbent of that person driving that quad to have the training and to wear the helmet.
Thank you, Martina. And just there's one more in the chat box. Does the course include trailers, loads on quad racks, etc.? What is the duration of the course? How many hours, days?
I can only speak for the Lantra one, and the FRS guys will speak for their course for the QQI. But yes, it includes loads, trail loads, loads on the racks, the capacities of it, the reason why it needs to be balanced, the impact of incorrectly loading, the raising of the centre of gravity, all of that type of material. The Lantra course is recommended minimum duration of 7.5 hours with a ratio of 4:1. So as I mentioned in my presentation, it is you need to allow the full day for the course.
As Andrew mentioned earlier, you can't think that you're going to attend a course and be gone by dinner time. Do allow the proper time for the training. And as he said, even switch the phone off. You have to focus in on the course. There's a good lot in it, actually. You might think it's a simple enough course, but there's huge amount of information and a good bit about the practical part on it as well. So just tailor that in when you're booking a course. Just make sure you have the time and the day set aside for it.
Thank you, Aoife. That's very important information. Claire, is there any further questions on the inboxes, please?
That's all the questions so far in the inbox. Yeah.
Okay. I think for me anyway, I found that absolutely fantastic, and I think it was so informative from all our speakers. And you know, it's something we're all very passionate about, is farm safety and to reduce fatalities on farms. And I think we all can say that we know, unfortunately, probably someone, either a family member or a neighbor or someone that's had a fatality. It's too close to us all, unfortunately. And I think, you know, I personally have had a cousin, and I think, you know, it never leaves loved ones. And I think, if anything, it's all in our own duty and care, especially as children are coming off school right now and school holidays, and farms are very busy. And, you know, farms are a dangerous place. And in particular, you know, as we're talking tonight, use of quads and the vital importance of getting training and having your and following and getting training and getting certified, and use of your helmet, the importance of having the helmet. It's mandatory no matter what, and it's up to us to get the knowledge and the skills and the training and to equip ourselves with the best information possible. And that's what I think our speakers were fantastic here tonight, to give you every scope possible to make your own informed decision that will give you the best support for you and your families and your employees. And, you know, as self-employed farmers, we do have a duty of care, and it is up to ourselves to get the best possible training and information, and to make the best decisions for ourselves. And I think at the same time, I'd just like to thank all of our guests here tonight for their insightful presentations and informing us of what's been involved in the quad bike safety training course. It was absolutely fantastic. And I just want to clarify also that it's just not an information session, that this does not mean that you have to wear, or sorry, it does not mean that you have your quad bike safe, or whatever, sorry. I would like to really encourage everyone to who operates an ATV quad bike, to make sure you're certified. And I hope this webinar is informative, and it's pre-recorded, and it will be available on our website over the next few days. And for anyone that needs any further information, please contact us ourselves in IFA, or also contact FRS and Lantra. And we really, you know, for any further information. And we'd like to say thank you very much for taking the time to be with us here tonight. It's very, very important that you've done so, and really appreciate it. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah. Thank you very much.
Thank
Good
you.
night. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all very much.
Bye.